Greetings and welcome back to Let's Get Started as Belgium in Victoria 3. When we left off, a new government had just taken power, bringing us back to the era of the Catholic Party. And we're going to leverage that to pass a new law. That law will be the public health insurance. Industrialists will not be happy and we're going to lose some of their benefits, but it's better to get it done now before they get even more powerful and the church is marginalized. This will of course raise a institution cost once we get it up, which led me to find one of my mistakes, in that we did not immediately upgrade our colonial institution upon passing that law. Well, it's a pretty minor mistake and it was caught very quickly. It wasn't that long ago that we passed that law. We do, however, need a bit more bureaucracy to get that finished off, so let's get that up and running right away. Now Wallonia is short on tax. I guess it's probably due to their expansion and the incorporation of Luxembourg, so this will also help us financially. Let's get one of them up right away and move it to the top. Now, I do want to leave it paused for just a second longer, and I'm even going to progress for just a moment. I'm not sure this number is right, given that we just started the game. And losing a few days to the clock ticking by isn't bad. Well, it is right, so we're still in quite a positive balance here for our investment pool. We still need more construction, so we're going to get another one of those up as well. This does mean it will cost us much more, though, when we unpause our building. But the construction will be done faster, in principle. Alright, so those are two priorities we desperately need. We also want to stop damaging our relations with the Russians. They're damaged enough. I don't want them to be totally angry at us. They do sometimes tend to like Denmark. We're still improving with Austria-Hungary and Spain. That's fine. Not critical, but fine. The Americans still have no interest in our region. Unfortunately, due to the decline from major power to minor power, we have no more interests and we need to keep them where our colonies are, or the colonies will be abandoned. And that includes Congo for you new players. I know it looks big and like it's a whole state, but it's not. The entire state is much bigger. There you go, you can see the entire province of Yaka there. Alright, so internationally, there's not a lot we can do at the moment because we can't even declare an interest until we get our power status back, and so we can't declare a new war unless it's in one of these regions. I may examine that around mid-episode, but not at the start of the episode. Wars cost money. So we've got our law passing, and we've adjusted our international scene. I want to look quickly at what we're doing in the way of subsidies and subventions. Munitions plant is still being subsidized, but it's not losing much money. And subventions, we also seem to be subventing a little bit of ammunition, but we'll leave it. Tools are getting a little bit expensive though, so I might stop that. As we noticed here, and anytime we do notice this, they seem to be building a lot of tooling factories. They're building them in Gelera as well, which in my opinion is not the best place for them. But, you know, the AI knows best. So what we want to do, if you notice the AI is building a lot of things and you go, hey, didn't I have a subvention there? It probably means you want to turn those subventions off. So let's go to our tools here. Easiest to get there, and let's turn this down. Sorry guys, no more exporting for you. How many are we exporting? 185. All right, definitely want to turn that off. Unfortunately, tool prices are rather low, so the company's going to have some profitability issues, but hopefully they'll compensate for that by building other things that use tools. As I noted in the last episode, paper and groceries are still ridiculously expensive, and I actually want to take care of that. I'm hoping to just push through a few constructions, even if it does mean that our debt situation is not resolved. Something else we have not done is looked at our building registry and at what the government currently has and could be offloading. Some of these were acquired, of course, by our conquests, but we can definitely offload them as well. We do, however, have a coal plant mine, or two, just one. All right, well, let's get that thing privatized. In fact, we're going to privatize almost everything. Fishing, iron, yep, let's privatize that. Lead, let's privatize that. Livestock, logging, that can go as well. Munitions plant, I'm not going to privatize it for the moment in case the AI decides that they want to build a second one since we're subsidizing it and it's free money for them. Paper mill, privatize that. I don't think we actually have one to privatize right now. No, that's just telling us about the one that we're building in a bit. Ports, I don't want to privatize those. Don't want the AI deciding that they don't want to man those up properly. And a wheat farm. Alright, that looks good. Since we are short on tools, though, we can also check our tooling production methods. Those tend to mainly be used in the rural sector. The millet farms in Congo, that would definitely not be valuable, but let's check our wheat farms. They're already using tools, so nothing we can do to help them out there. Grain prices are fine. Let's see if Wallonia would rather do something more profitable. They would. Nonetheless, I'm going to wait till the crisis of the Hungry 40s is done before I have them do that. Livestock, on the other hand, we can definitely probably up a little bit here. Butchering all the way to the best we have. You can also do increased wool gathering. Bit of cloth never hurts. Congo will stay exactly as it is for now. I'm not going to bother checking. Our lead mines are not actually utilizing atmospheric engines, and they won't be profitable if we do, but let's try to remember before we do anything more with lead that we want to upgrade this so that the AI doesn't build more lead mines. Everything else looks about fine. Well, just the Congo's fish. Won't be more profitable if we do that. I wanted to check the new glassworks that was coming up and make sure they're on leaded glass. They're not, but they are now, and ceramics will also make them more profitable. Food industries are appropriately up and running. They would make more money if we told them to stop making alcohol, but the alcohol is also something we tax, so, you know, we actually need that money pretty badly. Keep on making your alcohol. Something important to consider whenever you're taxing a good. It's not going to just be about whether the industry is profitable then, but about whether it's profitable for you. We're making luxury furniture, I didn't even realize that, and we're going to stick with it then for now. Like I said, we'll correct this later by building other facilities that make the opposite type of good. I think we're about done then here. With that glass coming up, we've already got market squares though, and we've already got that as well. Well, great. This would increase engine demand, and the private sector still hasn't built their motors factory, but we'll look to upgrade it as soon as we see that motor industry come up. I think we can get rolling now. Army Belgium doesn't have enough in the way of organization. Is that due? No, that is just due to your supply, not due to your commander. Alright, then it's fine. I think we're ready to go. And what we're going to do is unpause this. But we're going to make sure this is in an order we want. Let's get the logging up first, because then it will sell off sooner and we can make some money from it. And since paper is something that we're paying for, let's do that first as well. Unpause, and we can even unpause at a more rapid clip this time. Belgium does occasionally have a lot of downtime because there's not a lot you can always do. I find it interesting. Oh, I haven't unpaused construction. I was like, why are we still making money? Unpause construction, my friends. The armed forces are petitioning the government. Righty. I'd really rather not pass any of these right now, especially if this takes too long to pass, then they're gonna be upset. I really dislike these petitions. Let's take a look here. If we lose the 5 legitimacy, we'll still stay in contested territory, so that's not horrible. The laws they're asking to get passed are either National Guard or Secret Police, both which would pass, but I was leaning against National Guard because I really, really do like guaranteed liberties, and I so rarely get to pass it. And the petite bourgeoisie will be more upset if we first pass National Guard and then go to guaranteed liberties. I'm going to tell them no, because if this takes too long to pass, we're going to get a big negative to their approval. Sorry, fellas. Brave engineer. Thank goodness for quick thinking. Or, thank goodness for quick thinking. Well, and we give some credit to the railman. Doesn't hurt to start beasting the trade unions. They might actually, in a country like Belgium, get powerful pretty quick. Though, that was probably a mistake. You don't want them to get powerful if they're too unhappy, because they hit your construction. A long list of interest groups we've got in our country, and a lot of them aren't happy. Well, that was quick and easy. I should have put that government admin on the top. Actually, maybe we've got enough to upgrade our institution already. Nope, not quite. The number went up to 38 for a minute, but now it's back down to 35. Alright, now we're working on stuff that's more productive. We've got some extra authority floating. That's interesting. We could collect more taxes. Yay. Suppressing and bolstering these movements isn't doing us a lot of good at the moment. Well, the bolstering is, because they're in favor of laws we like, but the suppressing is only because they're opposed to one law, and at the moment it doesn't look like we can pass that law. Alright, since we're short on money, I don't like running this many taxes. There are other uses for our authority. But early game Belgium, we do have to take into consideration our financial situation. Build me a motor industry, dear company. I promise you I will export them, and I'll support you in that endeavor. Health taxes. This is always a difficult choice. We're not going to go for the one that makes the industrialists unhappy, because this expense is only for a very short time, and it improves the chances of passing by a lot. I think we can shoulder it. Well, this law isn't that important, and like I said, bite the bullet. Finances. In almost any other situation and case, I would say that you should take that second choice, because it goes away quickly, especially when you're already on drafting. But I'm trying to be incredibly fiscally responsible. Alright, we can re-establish relations with the US. That's good. I was opening up Wallonia here again so I can build another construction sector. I'm not going to run it quite yet, though. Because I'm being responsible. Did you like the dead air there? Gave you a chance to think and wonder what I was going to say, didn't it? Empty pockets. The liberal movement. It could have been another movement that was dying. No, we will try to delay their decline, if not to prevent it. The lower option was simply a larger decline in their popularity. Now we've got a few more loyalists. Once we get the healthcare up, though, that will be beneficial. That is passing very easily. Have to appreciate that. Rural folks. Alright, they've gotten a tiny bit happier. We got so many unhappy people here, it's amazing. Artillery is still short. Are we importing any? Buy orders? No, we're not. Nobody wants to sell artillery. This is one reason you sometimes have to suck it up and build artillery and military shipyards and other things that you think you could import, but people just don't want to export them. The farmers in Wallonia have been making an appeal. Offer them help or focus on the success. That is a very good thing. 40%. Nonetheless, we are low population. Mortality is bad. So, again, in the principle of, we're thinking long-term here. If this doesn't pass, it's not the worst thing in the world. If I was trying to pass something that was life or death, I'd be feeling differently. But this is fine. We're on voting. We have a large probability of success. No reason to kill the farmers off. Harvest condition has started. Disease outbreak. Let's see if this hits our industries. I would love to finish that university as well, but I will tell you right now we're not going to, because I will want to pause this again for a moment. We now have a radical in charge of the intelligentsia. And once again, the Niger Delta is having issues. Oh, we do have up our institution. Now I can raise that. I'm quite far behind on that today, it seems. Considering it is something so critical, Another disease outbreak. We're having only 3 provinces. We're getting a lot of those. And that did send the price of grain through the roof. There's not a lot we can do about that, though. I'm not going to build a bunch of grain for people when there's only a year left on this event. Public health insurance is up. Great. That'll make everybody happier. I don't think we have quite enough to increase this and increase that. So I will leave it for a moment, but I will check our government admin and see if we're short on taxes anyways. We are short on taxes in Wallonia because there's a lot of construction going on down there. So I will increase that up to that level. No rush though. And we can then also start increasing our health investment. And as soon as that government admin is done, construction is paused. I will consider if there's something I can do to help with the grain situation, though. But I do not believe there is. Well, Dutch national awakening. Dutch national movement has spread. And America likes us. Let me see here. That bolstering is costing so much. We could have boosted agricultural output in one of these provinces for a little while. Who is producing more wheat? Oddly, Wallonia. So let me think about it. Budget. How much you may know? He's making us way too much money. Government sector. Belgian supremacists. Tell you what, I'm getting sick of suppressing them anyways. So I'm just going to do this just for a while. Why not? It is going to help us prevent even more radicals. It might temporarily confuse the private sector. Well, it already has confused them. They're building a rye farm. That's good, though. We don't have to build it. We are so short on engines, yet the private sector does not want to seem to construct them. Extreme wind on top of everything else. All right. Let's pause our construction, see how the private sector is doing here. All right, it is burning, but not a lot. Rifling. Oh, that's good. How is our rifles looking? Market. Military. We actually have a surplus, which is surprising, so we don't need to upgrade them to rifling quite yet. We can check. It may be that if we do this, they will export. It would increase the amount of machinists over laborers, which is beneficial. I'm going to switch it out anyways. Maybe they'll do some exporting. Quick check on subventions and subsidies. I should probably make like a shortcut for this or something. All right, steel, but I want them to build more steel. I'm willing to give them 1,000 or something to finish that off. I'm going to also unpause this and finish up this university. We're not passing a law. All right, Britain has recovered their mood towards us. That's good. Happy to see that. And as soon as that university is done... Oh, they've changed their mind. They no longer care to stay involved with us. Let's see if we've got any agitators available again. Liberal movement, liberal movement. So that is good. We've got some liberal and a labor movement person. That's sometimes quite rare. Hard to get. Oh, it's very difficult decision at this point because I'm not sure what we can pass next. Let's take a look at what the liberal movement would support here. Yes, our internal security measures and better suffrage laws. And that is really about it. Cultural exclusion, yes, as well. I guess it doesn't hurt to get somebody to support the liberal movement, and now we can always send them packing later. However, that one is a grifter. This one has a second-class citizenship, which isn't ideal, but not horrible. Also is a modernizer. Though I don't believe anybody in Europe is going to get the modernization movement for a while, but maybe they help promote protectionism. So I'm going to invite him. Why not? I do want to leave one slot open, though, just in case we want to invite this labor movement guy. It's a little bit early for that. Did I invite the right fellow? Yes, I did. Okay. Whew. Thankfully. I didn't reflect carefully on that when I clicked that button. All right, let's take a look at the laws here then again. I think we need another thing for this before we can pass it. Yes, we do. Well, we just need more support. So we do have the appropriate technologies, and it would be good to pass it. So inviting that guy was probably good. They will support proportional taxation at some point if we can get them to be a little bit less passive. Are they moving in any direction? Nope. This is where they're going to sit unless we upset them. What don't they like? But we're not likely to pass anything they don't like. And as I've said in previous series, I am not a big fan of doing like fake law passes and then saying just to upset a movement and get support for my preferred laws. I'd rather get them upset in other ways. Oligarchy, yeah, not a lot. Well, we'll just see how it evolves then. Because that would be nice if they would agitate a little bit. We may get some events that help agitate them a little bit. So as mentioned, census suffrage does have decent support, but I don't really want to move on to it. If we do that, it will be during the springtime of peoples. Racial segregation is now not even an option, so we can't do that. Elected bureaucrats is kind of just where we want to stay. I don't want home affairs up. We could check again if we can get the public schools. Now that the church isn't as unhappy, they might be willing to agree to that. I think this is kind of our opportunity. They're still not going to be thrilled, but we might have a chance. So that's what we're probably going to do. Then we can look at getting this police law reformed as well, especially if this doesn't go well again. It's not huge pressure to move out this quickly. It's just nice. All right, that is our decision then. Public schools. Sorry, church. What do the British want? They want to build in our country and transfer us clippers. Well, let's see if we can talk them out of that building in our country bit. So, this is the main reason they're willing to pass it. This gives them a no preferences. Alright, there is no way we can get this passed as is, so sorry guys, not that law. Let's see though if they're open to revising the Treaty of Reciprocity. Let's renegotiate that. And if you could give me, not investment, trade privileges. There we go. Ah yes, they would. Is there anything else we need or want from them? I would like to talk over good transfers agreements a little bit, but it is time consuming. It is always good to do this if there is a good which you desperately need and you want to secure the supply regardless of whether you're getting the best price. If you want the best price, trade mechanics are the best way of going about it. The trade centers and importing it with leveraging your trade advantage to get the cheapest prices. If you want to secure the supply and be sure you have it, then you want to go this route. We don't have anything we particularly can or want to export to them. They want our fabric, and we don't have enough of it. And liquor, new. Luxury furniture. But no, we're just going to leave it for the private sector to deal with. I will check, though. Maybe we can make them transfer us some ships. Probably not. The British usually don't make enough of them. Oh, these are their articles. Never mind. All right. Swap back over. Good transfer. And tell me about your man of wars. You would not be willing to do that. All right. Not even close. Then the minute we add it, it messes with their logic. And they're all of a sudden very, very not in favor of this. All right. This is good enough for now. These are maybe one of those things I should think about in between episodes to avoid the problem of the fact that they take too long to do. All right, let's turn off agricultural industry over here because we've got some authority deficit and continue to progress. Once the university is done, we can begin to bring our balances back in line. But as you'll notice, this is, I think, oh, another disease outbreak. Ouch, ouch. This is starting to equalize a little bit because our economy is growing. And so the bar, in my opinion, seems to be going down, even though the debt itself is actually not going down. All right, and that is a comfortable enough burn rate. I would actually like it even higher, though. So let's get one more construction sector up. Maybe even two. We'll see in a second. Those people in the Niger Delta are always a bit hungry. Let me see. Ah, emergency relief. Good. Emergency relief costs a little bit less than everything else, if you didn't know that. A third opinion. Can the Treasury bear such an expense? 5-year expense. Put out an open call. Well, let's see. Cross our fingers, 40% chance. Hey, it is our lucky day. Is that institution almost up? 2 weeks. Good. I'm very keen to get moving on this, as you see. 48. Moderate in charge of military. Great. And quinine has unlocked. So you see how massive of a difference that makes. That went down from 48 to, or I believe, to like 18. And that's important to note because you see it's 0.1 and now it's only 0.2, but it makes a huge difference. So important to keep that in mind because some people downplay the modifiers if you see it connected to something else like an industry. For instance, De Beers offers a 0.5 or 0.05 or something, colonial growth modifier. Not much, but it makes a big difference, especially when you start aggregating it and putting percentages on top of it and such. All right. This is going to be a bit tight. I think we're going to need another government admin to get this done. Possibly. Maybe not. We won't upgrade our health institution quite yet. We need to keep costs in line, and we want the people to be happy, and this is going to help our radical situation, perhaps. But we don't need them to be that happy yet. Let's give them something to look forward to. But Colonial Institution, we definitely want to speed that up. Not constructing anything now, and this burn rate is more solid. They are building a ton of iron mines. We are not doing anything to subsidize iron, are we? Nationalism. Wind nationalism, not workout for any country that decided it should be a core part of their ideology. So, political strength per vote. A complicated thing, which I had a long discussion with people on Reddit about. And I won't even endeavor to necessarily try to explain here because I probably don't fully understand it myself. In short, I believe since this is political strength per vote, it will help all voters, of course. And what this will mean then is any voters that are not subject to any sort of other modifiers may have their relative strength increased, except for flat modifiers like wealth. So while the wealth modifier for wealth voting isn't increasing the power of the landowners more, their political strength is going up, as is that of the farmers, but then relatively the farmers should close the gap a little bit. All right, I think I did a terrible job of explaining that. Anyways, it's always a good thing when people have more power over their vote. I wanted to check iron because the fact they're building so much iron is concerning to me. No, we're not subsidizing anything. Low tariffs for imports. That's good. All right, that's fine. Checking this again. Subsidies are kicking a bit higher here now, but that's due to the railways and the fact that our private sector does not seem to want to build any motor industry. We have way too many small arms. Minor interests. Let them bicker. Take advantage of the populist pressure. That would inspire the liberal movement to get more active. That's nice. The trade unions will be very upset. Or back the trade unions. And that would kill their political activism. How strong are the trade unions? Marginalized groups. 2.8. Okay, they're in no danger of immediately becoming strong. I hope they don't go through a radical transformation very quick. Because their negative thing when they do this work to rule, minus 10% state construction efficiency, ouch, that bites. I'm going to do this because I want the liberals to get more active. Ooh, sorry about that. An unnecessary zoom. That's burning at 10. If they don't build a motor industry soon, I'm probably going to take over for them. Easier times. Agricultural throughput, great, is increased. And a few new interests. So we can cancel our agricultural promotion there. And hopefully cancel this down here. Cancel the emergency relief there. And look again at our political situation. Overview, movements. We have so many movements. The radical movement is a good one to support as well. They do tend to favor very democratic things, rights of assemblies, national guards, guaranteed liberties, public schools. Well, we could use that, I guess, but I could try to boost them a little bit. I think they're already helping a little bit. But as you can see, the supremacist movement is already growing and is predicted to grow even more. So I'm going to just get back on suppressing them. It is a bit of a shame to spend so much time suppressing them when I don't know if this law will pass anytime soon. 44 next election. Possible. Possible. It's going to be hard to get public schools through before the next election, but it's not actually necessary because the support for this is not really coming from anybody in government. It's coming from movements, if I'm correct. I do not like that they are building so much of that stuff and that we have a shortage on this. Let's try to inspire them. Motor industry. I don't really like to do this when there's other more important things we should be building and the private sector can do this. Alright, nope, private sector can take care of it. We'll hope that the use of the railways creates more demand and they eventually start moving in. Let's take a look at those. Alright, they are on their best production method. I will then kick in public trams, but I'll do it incrementally. I'll do it first in Wallonia to drive up prices there in the hopes that they will build something there, and then I will do it in Flanders if it becomes necessary. I do not want to support the Dutch national movement disbanded. Okay, thank you. We just have too many political movements for my liking. Alright, those subsidies now are indeed quite high. Yeah, it's all the railways. We may have to actually build one because otherwise we're the ones paying to subsidize those railways when the motors are incredibly expensive. Might be. Alright. Paper is still expensive, as is groceries. Tell you what, we'll put them where the AI tells us to put them. Maybe. Alright, they're telling me to put it in Wallonia. Indeed, that does make sense. Infrastructure is running a bit shy there, though. I'm going to put it in Flanders. And food industry, where are they telling me to put that? Food industry, they are telling me to put in Wallonia. And it does make sense to spread out our food industries a little bit. Sure, I'm fine with that. Let's take a look at how profitable furniture would be. It would be profitable, and I could build it in Wallonia. Does make sense. And it's hard to say, though, for sure, though, because this is luxury furniture, and I'm going to immediately tell them to not build that. But I will do that. Despite saying that I would put it in Gelre, enough other things have come up in Gelre, and there's not enough peasants there. And lastly, then some textile mills. Probably not the best to put a textile mill here for luxury clothing, but so it is. And this will be going on non-luxury goods. And this will stay on that. Great, that looks good. Get a few more industries up that we can then sell off, since we have a good construction queue. I'm going to build up one more construction as well. You know, in a world where you're feeling more, free to, take some risks, you probably could have immediately in the first, year went up to, well, I'll even say it, you could have went up to 50 construction. You would have run a lot more debt and, might have looked pretty bad for a little while, but I think you could survive with the proper amount of pausing and not building and such. So just saying, if you want to try that, you can do that. I wouldn't go much above 50, but not until your economy is a little bit better. But I like my approach of just tossing one in whenever I feel like I can afford it. And these industries I just tossed down were tossed down without a lot of thought on our grand strategic direction and what we should be doing. That's also not really the way you should be doing it. I should be thinking more strategically. Alright, enactment time, or we upset the armed forces. Didn't we have this last time, and we also upset them last time? Tell you what, I want to keep them happy for now. The springtime of peoples could happen at any time. Or springtime of the people. I'm not sure which exact phrasing they utilize in this game. So we're going to stick with enactment time. It hurts, but I want to keep everybody as happy as possible before that event possibly happens. Because that event then could kick off a lot of people being unhappy. Tell you what, I don't want these to necessarily finish. So let's just remember that maybe we want to build them. because I like the construction to end what I'm currently doing and not move on to the next one. And then I end up having the same problem I had with the munitions plant, where I feel like, oh, I should pause this, and then I sit there with a half-finished industry forever. What I feel relatively comfortable doing now, yeah, all right, I do. They're cautious. Guess they don't like our relationships with the British. What I feel relatively confident doing here is going up a tiny bit on our government wages. 1 bit at a time. How much was that? I didn't even really pay attention. It was, yeah, almost nothing. We could even go up to the medium. All right, let's do it. Why am I doing this? Because I desperately want my interests back up. I'm not a warmongering person, but I do want the option to start securing a few more territories. But as long as we're limited in having to stick directly to this region, yeah, it limits our options severely. All right, this is done in 4 weeks, 3 weeks. I want to see how it changes here again then. 1,500 days, and now you go down to 1,000. All right, well, not great. A market liberal is in charge of the landowners. Well, that ought to help. Colonial investment is up. Defamatory article about the English. I'm sorry, English. Surprised we have English people in Flanders. Well, they will be a little bit less happy. How many English people do we have in Flanders? I wonder if these came naturally, or did we start with them at game beginning? I'm gonna have to check that. I didn't really realize that there were English people in Belgium. Interesting. If that is the case, if we ever notice things are going badly in Britain, we have to turn on our greener grasses immediately, as long as those cultural communities still exist. For the new people, there's culture communities. And in order to get migration of a culture, you need that cultural community there. When we exclude, of course, mass migrations. But once you have one, then you can get also migration through other means. Though we're not going to be part of their market, so not totally applicable. Maybe you don't want to listen to me too much, but it could become something that becomes important. You don't want to get rid of a cultural community if you have it. You don't want it to disappear. It's always nice to have them. Maybe we have some reason later that we get some English people coming in. Oh, the Russians really must not like us. I wonder why that is. Let's see. They adopted this strategic desire due to an increase in relations with a Russian rival. Well, yes, that was a long time ago. We're not improving relations with anybody, are we? Who is the Russian rival that we may have improved relations with? The British? The Americans. We're not still improving the Americans? No? Alright. They're just very slow at responding to changes in the diplomatic scene. It says we can declare more interests. Oh, because yes, all it took was raising salaries to make ourselves a bit more of a power. Well, this raises some interesting questions. We have 2 areas. I want to look at the time. 38. All right. Well, in that case, what is happening up here? It looks like the Americans have decided to go to war against Canada and the British. All right. The British want to make Honduras a protectorate, and the Americans have come to their aid. Amount of dead, the British have more dead. Cost of the war, alright. Interesting. Well, maybe we will not see the American-British alliance that I noticed recently has tended to crop up in many games. Alright. The economy is growing at a comfortable clip now, getting much better. And I would say by the time we hit 46, I'd like to have upped this to at least 80. 100 would be even better, but that may be less likely. Should we finish our food industry? Yes, let's finish our food industry. Debate. Who are we to counteract the voice of the people? A good event. We don't really need the petite bourgeoisie to be more powerful. I do like them to be happier, but they're not unhappy. We would like this law to pass quicker so that we can move on to more important things. I know I said we could declare interests, but I'm just saving it now until, it's not going to change the strategic landscape so much. in the short amount of time we're delaying till our food industry is complete. Please build building a motor in Flanders. Well, thank you. That is not our heavy industry province. Of course, it is a province that will utilize a lot of motors, but it's always a bit of a question. What is more important? Putting the final good, or near final good as motors tend to be, in the province where they're used, such as paper, where you have all your universities and government admins, or putting it where the supplies and the inputs are, such as putting paper where the sulfur is. And it's always a bit of a trade-off which one ends up being more profitable. And it changes as you build even just one additional thing. So hard to predict completely. Better a motor industries in Flanders than no motor industry anywhere. Well, let's check what this land of want is before we wrap up. Jules Cole, leader of the industrialists, has been loudly accusing the Catholic Party of misrule. Why are we to blame? Have they tried being less poor? Aha, up the Free Trade Party and damage the Catholic Party. Alright, well, let's see the current balance of power here. Wow, Catholic Party is just rocking it. So I think we'll do this, if nothing else, just to kind of balance the power equilibrium a little bit. Alright. And what I wanted to see then, really quick, on public schools is who's supporting it. Just the intelligentsia and, of course, the radical movement. That is why it is being able to be passed in the first place. In the interest of ensuring it passes and moves quickly, I'll bolster them for just a little while. Remind me at the beginning of next episode to change that back. Or we just ignore it and we bolster everybody in favor of reform and try to shove it through the throats of the people who don't want to accept it. Alright, in that way, hopefully we can get a final tick or two before, and get public schools out before the elections. We need to wrap up, though. Economy's looking good, making the reforms we need to make, and the colonial progress is much, much better now, including so much better than our little Dutch neighbors and our Danish friends. In fact, in many ways, when this is done, at least one, depending on where we land for our next movement, if we land closer to somebody we can conquer, then I'll let it continue. If we don't, I may consider setting up a second colony here and doing a little bit of a move against Denmark sooner rather than later, as long as they don't have any too powerful of friends. Let's see. I have no interest here, do I? So no, I can't say... What say you? If I say that I'd like to conquer that state, yes, the Netherlands would indeed help them, so we would probably want to make sure that we have a friend before that happens, or that we have boosted up our military a wee bit further. So, something to think about. Alright, now I will wrap up because I'm sure we're at my 42 minutes rather than my 38. Thank you for joining me, and do come back another time to see us out to the 10-year anniversary of the start of our game, not of the start of my channel or anything. And until then, I wish you all the best. Ciao.